Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 43 of Builders Talk. I've been on a long break, finishing off just before Christmas and spending some much needed time with our family. My son moved to Brisbane, so I've been down helping him, and he decided he would come and visit us, and he brought COVID back home with him and then got stuck here when the floods happened in Brisbane. So he's only just made his way back home. So today I wanted to talk about some predictions of what I think might happen in the building industry in 2022. Hi, Larissa. How you going? Yes, it's good to be back. It's been a long break. The year probably has started quite eventful for people here in Australia. We've had a lot of, obviously, flooding happening up the east coast of Australia in Queensland and New South Wales. And a lot of people I spoke to at the end of the year were talking about, obviously, hoping that 2022 was going to be a better year than 2021. And I just had this niggling feeling. Am I still live? Everything's gone. Is my power gone? Is everyone still there? I've lost my power. See, things that happen. I can't see anything. My screens are gone. The internet's probably giving me dramas. And this is what happens when you're live on TV. So let me see if I can get something going if I'm still actually live. Everyone can just have a bit of a laugh. Let me have a look on my phone. Because, I've lost my screens. So let's see what I can do. Give me a minute or two. Hopefully we'll be back. So I've got like 3 screens here. And they're just all flashing at me. So what's going on? Can't even see anyone. Okay, I can see. Hopefully I'll get through this in one go. And you can see Larissa's saying she can see me. Sorry about that. I couldn't see anything. I didn't know what was going on. So anyway, where were we up to? So, this is what 2022 is going to be like in the building industry. So I knew in the building industry we were going to have more of the same, because I knew that the problems weren't going to go away in relation to the material supply shortages, the price increases, and the trade issues. And I guess now what is compounded, now my phone's playing, and I guess some things that might compound that this year has unfolded in the last 2 weeks. So the floods will now put a lot more pressure on the building industry, especially in New South Wales and Queensland. So if we already didn't have enough shortage of, have the shortage of supplies, we will definitely now have more shortages, because there'll be more supply required to fix these homes that have been inundated with water. And that will take away also from the trades, which are the finishing trades, which are the trades that we have a lot of difficulty getting, because typically finishing trades such as tilers, plumbers, electricians, a lot of the time are one-man bands. So, they don't necessarily have a team of people so that they can deploy one person to this job and one person to that job. So with this flooding event that has occurred, we are going to see more of an impact on our timeframes within the building industry this year. So, it's going to push the prices higher again. And I've already seen that. Got an email from my window supplier saying that milled extrusions are going up 9%, powder coating and anodizing is going up about 5 to 6%. And that'll be effective of next month. So they're not really giving us much lead times to allow for us to put those prices in our quotes. So again, for on fixed quotes, we're going to get, stuck with those pricing increases again. So I'm just trying, to get my screens working properly because they're still flashing at me. Okay, I think I've got it sorted out now. So also, like at the moment, we can't get insulation, and now all those homes that have had that inundated water are going to require wall insulation, so it's going to put more pressure on us. And you know, I spoke to our window supplier when he sent through this price increase, and he said to me, "Ange, please do not quote with. Please send us your windows schedule so we could quote for you." Because they're just not confident at all in the prices that are coming out. We have a fairly substantial, I guess, library of prices for all our windows that we use. So I usually don't bother the supplier to get a quote for every job that we do because, you know, I just really don't like having to send them every single plan that we do when I know a lot of those people might not necessarily go ahead with us. So they're spending time quoting. So I would typically do that myself. But he said to me, just don't do it anymore, Ange. It's just not possible. You need to change the process, which is what I'll do. But that brings me to, I guess, one of the other things is making sure that when we're talking with our clients, keep the communication transparent. A lot of, I guess, the stress that we feel is from navigating such an emotional and personal journey with our clients. You know, they're building their dream home, they're spending a lot of money, they become quite emotional, and we often get the brunt of that emotion when things don't work out how they imagine that they would, or the timeline that we've said is not working. Most people are being fairly understanding about the timeline, but every time we have to go back with a problem, it compounds and compounds till there's an explosion by that client, which we bear the brunt of. And it's not necessarily fair that we bear that brunt, but that's where the main contractor and the buck stops with us. So we have to deal with that. So, and I do struggle with trying to, I guess, communicate with our clients at the moment because we're flying blindly as well. You know, we rely on, as builders, we rely on so many supplies, you know, trades. We're just trying to coordinate all that stuff to keep the job flowing, but we can't even get answers from the people that we're relying on to give the client a timeline if something does get delayed. I had a discussion with a client the other day. A feature tile got delayed. The tile shop said 2 weeks, which turned into 3. So we didn't bother, you know, talking to the tile shop on week 3, turned into week 4. So we speak to the supplier. They can't give us a timeline. Client rings up, why haven't you done anything in my house? You know, I have to go through the explanation and explain why we haven't done anything because we're waiting for that. And then now we've lost the tiler for that time frame that we originally had. But we just can't keep going and spending money on their job because otherwise we're leaving ourselves in short supply of our cash flow because we can't get the money till that next stage. So this house in particular was pretty much nearly ready to hand over, and we just couldn't keep going and spending the money because we'd already outlaid a lot of the money even before we closed up for Christmas. So it's a very fine line that builders are having to work along, and it's very difficult to try and get the client to understand that because a lot of the time they don't care about us. All they care about is themselves. So, and I understand that as well, but it makes it very difficult for all parties to try and communicate and, I guess, keep everyone happy. And, you know, what things do you tell them and what things don't you tell them? Because some things trigger one person, but they won't trigger another person. So you can have one discussion with one client and it's fine. And then you can have that same discussion with the next client and they don't understand or they don't care. So it makes it very tricky. It gives people anxiety to actually have to go and, oh no, I've got to ring that client again because this has happened or that's happened. And it's that anxious phone call. So a lot of people start putting those off, but that's where the problems, I guess, sort of end up. So one thing we need to start doing as well to make sure that we are mitigating any, I guess, delays that will happen this year is to make sure that you're getting your orders in early. If you do complete your color selections at the beginning with your client and you don't, I guess that's the best way to do it at the moment. If you're just doing bits and bobs, if you're, waiting until you're nearly at time to do the kitchen fit out and then you're sending them off to the cabinet maker, or you're then sending to the tile shop when it's time to do the tiling, you need to stop and change that process and evolve it into something that you can do right from the beginning. Because at the moment, the lead times on everything are so much longer, and you don't want to be stuck with, a client's on holidays when you ring to ask them for their kitchen colours and you can't progress the job, making that delay even longer. So I had a client that they'd built their home previously, and when I rang them up to say, we've got to sit down for a day and do the colour selections, they went into an absolute panic. What do you mean? We normally just, do it as we go, because they'd been an owner builder and they didn't really have a time frame that they were trying to stick to. So they would just go and order things as they needed them. And I had to explain to them, we can't work that way, especially at the moment, because we might have to wait. Like, they've got some feature block work, which is going to take 12 weeks actually to get that block work on site. So we need to pick that now to be able to order it, then wait, until when they need it, thinking that they can only get it within a week or two, like you probably used to be able to. So these are some of the things. Shopper pricing, and I like using my local suppliers, and I like using the people I usually use, because they will bend over backwards for you if there is something that you need done urgently. But with people having the fixed price contracts, if things are getting blown out, then we need to try and find some money elsewhere. And if you've got all those orders earlier, it gives you the ability to go and send some quotes around and get some prices. I had an incident yesterday where a client sent me through a tile that they had selected. I had a price on it from the tile shop, and we go through the wholesaler. So I asked them for their price, and it came back actually more expensive than I could get it at my local tile shop. So when I questioned them about this, they came back and said, oh, we'll give it to you the same price. And I said, hang on a minute. So my client can go in and get that price, the same price I can get. That's not really how it should be working. Why aren't I getting a discount as a builder? And I know that these suppliers are probably hurting as well. They might be trying to keep their prices at a reasonable price and not making as much margin, so they haven't got the ability to give us the discount. So it is a good time to be able to have those things in place that you can go and look for things earlier. Cost plus contracts I've spoken about before. I really hate them. There's so much administration. There's a lot more potential for arguments between clients. But if you've got the option to do this, it might be something you want to have a look at, especially if in 2022 this much more pressure has been put on the industry with the flooding. This might be something, if you've got the ability to do that you might want to look at. And also, if you can't do cost plus, which typically with cost plus you can get your payments more frequently. If you're stuck on a fixed price contract with stage payments, you might want to try and see if you can throw a few little extra ones in there. I know the banks don't like us doing that, but say at the moment when I've got one client that's picked their their floor tiles, the same as the walls tiles, and they want to secure those tiles because they know the delay is going to be that long before we actually need the tiles. They want to secure them. And I've said to them, look, I can't really afford to just buy them for the whole, it's a 400 square meter house. So it's a lot of money. I can't buy those things early and just leave them stored so that you can ensure you've got that selection. But if you potentially can get more money in smaller chunks, you might have the ability to be able to go and order things that maybe are going up so that you can try and keep control of your pricing. And one thing that I got hit with at the end of the year, which is why I've taken longer to get back on the show, is, I don't know if people have heard it yet, it's called the mass resignation. So this year we will lose a lot of probably people out of the building industry, not necessarily the owners that are running the businesses, but the people that work for us. There's been a lot of pressure put on us and the people that work for us that they don't normally have to endure. So I lost my administration girl that I'd had for, I think, nearly 7 years. And she's moved into a completely different industry because she just didn't want to deal with the pressure anymore. Didn't want to have to deal with the clients, because she was the first person that was the point of contact for clients. So she was having to deal with the stress coming from the clients. And me as a business owner was probably a bit more shielded from that, from her. Like, I mean, I was more shielded by her because I wasn't necessarily directly dealing with the client. So just be aware of the stress that your staff are under, because they could be under more pressure than they normally are, which can cause them to decide they've had enough, it's all too hard, they're going to go somewhere else. I had another one move further up the coast. So basically I'm back running all of the administration side of the building business by myself. And that has, I guess, made me look at my systems and processes in my business and giving me the ability to look at it, because now I'm doing it and make changes that are going to make it more efficient for our business to run better. Whereas before there was probably spots that, I had just left it running the way it was because someone else was doing it and it didn't affect me. But now that I'm doing that thing, I'm seeing the inefficiencies and going, this needs to be done better. So these are the things that you can do to evolve your business. And it's probably been a good thing, because these are the things that I can relay back to builders about what you can maybe change in your business that will make it more efficient, which will help bring in more profits, which will give you more time. So I've been building a purpose-built dashboard over the Christmas break to make sure that I've got an all-in-one system where I can go to, so I'm not having to flick between different programs and pieces of paper. Like, I've just got miles of cards sitting everywhere because I'm trying to keep track of all these jobs all by myself. So it's time to start evolving and changing to the new norm and get your business working efficiently, because we're going to be bleeding a lot of money out this year, unfortunately. And some, unfortunately, will go by the wayside. There's already, I think it was in the news, Simmons only made something like $500,000 for a year, which is a big builder. So they've got through, but there's still more to come. So I guess my predictions for the year are that it's not going to get much better. We're going to still have issues with supplies. We're going to have price increases. We're going to have shortage of trades, probably even more. Plumbers, electricians, tilers, plasterers, all those finishing trades that will probably be called in to help these people that have been, had their lives ripped apart and houses unlivable. And, they're going to need to fix them quickly, because there's not even rentals available for a lot of these people to even go to and live in. So they'll either be forced to live in, houses that still need to be fixed. The question of what's the cost per square meter for my house, basically people are coming in and saying, can you build my house? There's people, Queensland have had the highest interstate migration they've had for years, and I'm getting phone calls daily from people still wanting to build. You'd think with all that's happening that people are wanting to stop, but they know that it's going to keep getting more expensive. So people are trying to get in now before it gets more expensive. So I think that there's still going to be plenty of work around. We just need to be efficient and effective with how we work with these people, so that we can, stop the bleeding, stop the stress, but just be prepared for what's going to happen in 2022. And I've got a couple of comments. Oh, Foo's here. How you going? And yeah, see you next week. Hopefully I don't have any technical issues and everyone can have a laugh at me fumbling around behind a black screen and couldn't be seen. But I will see you all again next week. Have a good week.